Hey, that's
Why don't we all?
Oh my god.
All right, we are live.
We're live! Yay!
All right,
hey.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. Okay,
Hello,
welcome
everybody.
to our second session of September's Featured Artist Q&A. We're your hosts, Veronica Castillo and Nadine Natividad.
All right, as a general rundown for the first 30 minutes, Veronica and I will be asking questions to our featured artists, and afterwards we'll open it up to the audience. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask, feel free to enter them on the chat whenever. For those of you joining us on AirMeet instead of YouTube and want to specifically be on camera and have a quick interaction with the artist, click on the little raised hand button.
All right, so our first featured artist is Noah Kiriu. He is a cinematographer born and raised on the island of Oahu, Hawaii, and now resides in Las Vegas, Nevada. As a young child, he's always had an interest in film and would even pick out movies to rent at Blockbuster with his family. He started to learn about film production in high school and continued studying film at UNLV. During his time in Las Vegas, he's had the privilege to find so many collaborators he's loved to work with in creating art and creating a community that supports fresh and diverse voices. He's finishing his first feature as a cinematographer called Goodbye Kaido, directed by Aeneas Marcellus. The independent film was produced out of pocket by the filmmakers and wouldn't have been possible without the support of those in the local film community. Quick fun facts about Noah. He likes bugs, and he also likes the movie Tremors, maybe a little too much.
That's true. That's all true.
Also joining us is Fausto Darquea. Fausto is a jack of trades in everything production and entertainment. He's been essential in the creation of award-winning independent films and national esports broadcasts, working closely with tech giants such as Blizzard, Epic Games, and more. He has focused his knack for developing viral content into his brand, GoodGuyGastly, and has gained over 60,000 subscribers on YouTube with over 12 million views and counting. He was featured by various publications, including Kotaku and Rooster Teeth, and has had his cosplay photography go viral many times. While working on a project, he always asks, what makes this special, who is watching it, and how do we make sure as many people as possible see it? Recently, he has become fascinated with the world of interactive live streaming and improv.
All right, dope.
Woo!
So before we
Yay.
start the Q&A, we're going to watch a little clip to showcase their wonderful work. Sit back and enjoy the clip. Hit it, Tiff. All right. Woo-hoo! Give it up for Fausto and Noah. All right, so welcome, Fausto and Noah. We're so glad that you can make it to our Q&A, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So to start, and for the viewers to get to know you a little bit more, what made you want to get into film?
No, you go first.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I always liked watching movies. Like that was like a thing that I would do growing up, like a lot, like with my parents. I have a lot of like memories going to like Blockbuster as a kid, and I feel like that was the way like I would bond with especially like people in my family. Like it would be something that we could all talk about. And then I mean, I guess the more I kind of got into doing that and just kind of like wanting to be interested in like how they would make stuff and stuff like that, and then I mean just kind of fell into it, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fausto?
For me, it started all with old school YouTube and machinima, which is basically telling stories through video games. My cousin and I were like obsessed with telling stories using things like Halo, um, and Call of Duty and Fable and all these other old school games. And it didn't really start for me. It wasn't typical film that actually got me into it. I never really even watched movies, to be honest. I was more interested in the whole YouTube life and creation with storytelling in video games.
Cool.
Wow.
All right, moving on to our next question. Do you guys believe you have to live in Los Angeles or New York City to find success? And do you plan on staying in Las Vegas? Why or why not?
I mean, that's I personally don't think that you need to be in any specific place to succeed. I mean, I think especially now with like how affordable. I mean, you can make a thing with like, you know, I mean, getting a good camera is with a good lens system and stuff like that is less than $2,000 now. You know, I mean, like anybody, you don't need to have like a ton of money and like funding and producers and stuff like that, like a big studio to succeed, especially in film nowadays. I feel like that's something that I'm really excited about, actually seeing like what people can produce just kind of on their own now, you know. And I don't know, I think that's like I mean, it also depends on the type of work you want to do too. If you want to go to LA and do like studio type of work, or you want to, you know, work in like that environment, I guess, then, you know, that would be necessary. But yeah.
I think if you want to get really, really good, then it's good to surround yourself with people who are better than you. And I think LA is a place that's probably where you're going to see the most growth the quickest. But in terms of, do you have to? No, I don't think so. Especially with things like TikTok and everyone has a camera in their pocket and can, there's now editing tools even on your phone. So I don't think it really matters where you are now, unless, like you said, Noah, unless it's like, you know, certain things definitely need more of a production behind it. So it depends on what you're trying to do.
But yeah, I feel like the more like I've been doing things, like the less I feel like. I mean, I feel like the more you kind of figure things out on your own. You know, I mean, like out of necessity almost. But like, you know, I mean, the fun thing about like filmmaking, I think, and the fun thing about like art is there isn't like a specific like way to do something, or like, I mean, as long as you achieve like the thing that you're trying to achieve, I feel like that's like the main thing, you know?
Right.
So what changes would you like to see in this industry, in your field?
Oh, that's tough. There's a lot of political answers to that. I don't know. I think there's just there's definitely a lot more inclusion that I think needs to happen, right? John Boyega, for instance, calling out Disney with Star Wars, and you know, he's the only person that had a kind of experience based on the color of his skin, and I think that's like horrible that that's still happening in this day and age, you know. So I think there's a lot to be done when it comes to those kind of injustices, right? When it comes to film, so stuff like that. But
I mean, I think I feel like it's, especially within the system, like definitely inclusion and making sure that there's like opportunities for different stories to be told and different like different people to have the opportunities to shoot things, you know, like especially in like the cinematography realm, like in the lower budget kind of sense, like there's a lot of people who, you know, like if you don't have access to like good lighting equipment or cameras or stuff like that, like they feel like they can't do it, or they, you know, they don't want to, you know, like they let that kind of stop them. And I feel like especially now, like, you know, like it's I want to see more kind of people just embrace that, like, you know, the fact that like anybody can do something, you know. And I want to just see, like, you know, like I feel like there's so many people trying to like fix the system, and I feel like that's definitely something that we should try to do, because the system is definitely not working for a lot of people. But also I think it's interesting to think about working outside of the system too, you know. I mean, I think that's a possibility that a lot of people don't think about, and I think that's something that like yeah, you know what I mean? I feel like the good thing about a film crew and stuff like that is it doesn't need to be, you know, you can kind of control that. It's like a family, you know, you're kind of, you can be the change that you want to, you know, if you want to include more things or you want to make a movie about something or you want to see more films about a certain thing, just, you can make that, you know?
Right.
Like, and I feel like I just want more people to embrace that, I guess, or to kind of feel more comfortable doing that, you know?
Right.
Definitely. Well, if there's nothing else anybody wants to add, we'll be moving on to our specific questions. You guys good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll start with you, Fausto. Your first question. Okay, I know you consider yourself more of a jack of all trades type in filmmaking, but lately, do you find yourself leaning towards a specific title, or do you still find your preferred title changing all the time?
So that's always really hard for me because doing YouTube and doing that kind of production for as long as I have, you kind of have to do every role. You have to be the director, you have to be the actor, you have to be the writer, you have to be the editor. You have to kind of be like water and adapt to everything. And I feel like that's kind of always been my biggest gripe with me in the film industry is like, where do I see myself staying? And the answer to that is pretty impossible for me, to be honest. I've tried to just be an editor. I've tried to just be a motion graphics artist. I've tried to just be, you know, a cam op, and I always end up just looking at something else that I really want to do. So I think where I'll probably end up is probably in a producer or director role. Is probably, I think, where in the end that's probably because I've done everything. I feel like I can kind of help guide and direct where people should be, and so I think that's probably where I'm going to end up being, is just pulling those resources to make other films and help other people who need it, because I've also done it. I've also been there. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And okay, so we've noticed you've worked with Gamer versus Taylor, which ties in with cosplay. So how did you get to establish a connection with them?
Oh, so Gamer vs. Taylor. So I was never a cosplay photographer. I actually didn't even start doing photography until like 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. I was filming weddings for a long time. And then I met my girlfriend, who is a cosplayer, uni astronaut, and she connected me with Jez. And Jez is the owner of Gamer vs. Taylor, and he does, like, he's world renowned for all his costuming and all his designs, and now he's opened a school that is centered on cosplay. And so she connected me with him, and he liked my work, and he asked me if I could do a commercial for Crunchyroll, and we just kind of like did it. Like George and I, you guys know George and I basically went in there with like not really too much of a plan. We had a pre-viz day for one day, and then we just went in there 6 hours, and we just kind of did what we could do with a small crew of 4. So yeah.
Did you talk to the owner beforehand of like what you wanted to shoot, or was it just like?
Yeah, I showed him some examples of stuff that I thought was really, really cool. And like I was like, well, I kind of want to do something like this, and like he seemed very hesitant the whole time. He didn't really. I don't think he trusted me to fully pull it off. But then when he saw the final edit, and yeah, he loved it, and everyone else loved it. So yeah, and and it was definitely a fun experience because it was something that I haven't really done a video like that. I've always wanted to do a video like that, so I was really happy with how it came out.
Yeah, the product, it looks super cool.
Thank you. quick and fast, and
so those are really good answers, very good and professional. So let's move on to a kind of more fun answer then. If you could be reborn as any Pokemon except Ghastly, which one would it be and why? Yeah, we knew what you were gonna say.
Are you serious? That was my answer.
You're sitting in the purple lighting and everything.
I know. Well, I don't know. Maybe a Diglett, like over there, a Diglett in the background, or maybe a Lapras, like it just kind of float on the water. That sounds like fun. I don't know. Yeah, something like that sounds great. Diglets, you don't even know what's underneath them. Who knows?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think a Diglett looks like under the ground? What's your description of that?
It's just my body. It's just me, but in my head. That's probably
What about Ghastly spoke to you? Why did you choose him?
Well, it was mainly alliteration. I just wanted a name that could be easy to remember. But then as I looked at it more, I was like, okay, well, Ghastly, like, you watch him in the show, he's just super fun, and he's always trying to prank people, and he's like constantly laughing and just like having a good time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I felt like, okay, that's kind of me. Like, my whole YouTube channel is basically parody and just trying to make people laugh. So
yeah,
so it just kind of fit.
Very fitting.
Yeah.
All right, back to the serious question, the last one for you, Fausto. Okay, so how does it feel to combine the pleasures of filmmaking and gaming? Does constantly producing wear you off? Do you find a time to like just have time for yourself and just do your own projects for fun? How do you do it?
So it's really hard because YouTube is constantly on my like mind, or like just viral videos or some kind of whatever I can make that I think is going to do well in the social platform we see ourselves on at the moment. You know what I mean? So it's always like very difficult to separate work from pleasure. For instance, I can't play a video game without thinking about, well, why am I not recording this? Why am I not making content out of this? Why, what could I do with this, like, this game? And it's pretty destructive, to be honest. Like, I gotta like really separate myself from like just enjoying something and not thinking about, well, how can I turn it into a video? And then YouTube is just a constant like cloud over my head of like, well, I gotta like hit the next viral thing. I gotta make something that people are gonna want to watch and share. And yeah, it's just very stressful. It's incredibly difficult. And so I have to try to like kind of adopt a philosophy of like 2 for them, 1 for me. So 2 videos that I know that like people are probably going to like a lot, and then 1 video that I really like, because most of the time the videos that I really care about and I put a lot of work into and passion, they flop. They don't do very well. But in the videos that like I just kind of like vomit out in like a few hours and I don't really put too much thought in, they hit something in the algorithm and then they go soaring into the thousands and thousands of views, and I'm just like sitting here dumbfounded every time. But so yeah, it's a little disheartening, a little difficult to try to work out what you want to do creatively when you're up against that. But yeah, we'll make it work.
Do you feel that way when you watch movies too, or is that something that's strictly more towards gaming and social media?
I think it's more gaming, social media. Movies for sure, because I would like to do more narrative pieces. I definitely look at like that way. But I guess when I look at movies, I always think with a movie, it's so much more. Like if I were to make a feature like you're working on, Noah, like it's almost like I can take the time to just like make this piece of art, and even if nobody watches it, I'm still going to be happy with it. You know what I mean? Whereas YouTube, my love for whatever I'm making is definitely influenced by, did other people like it? Right? Whereas if a movie, it's like sometimes, I imagine that if I make a full feature, and even if people don't like it, even if it got like crappy reviews from critics, like I would still be like, hey, I made that with a bunch of friends. You know what I mean? And like that's cool. So I don't really, it's just not the same feeling. Whereas YouTube, the goal is, how can I make something that people are going to really like and share? So I don't know. I guess they have similarities, but it's not the exact same for me.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, and thank you for your very well thought out answers.
I'm trying.
All right, cool. Moving on to Noah. Are you ready for your question?
Oh yeah.
Moving on to some not thought out answers. No.
All right, cool. First question for you, Noah. How does it feel to DP 2 feature films? Will you have the same approach to DPing a documentary as you do a fictional narrative film?
It's interesting because so the way we're doing Goodbye Kaito, which is the narrative film that we're shooting now, is it's very guerrilla style. I mean, just in the way that we've been having to kind of shoot it, because we started shooting like mid to late 2018, and we've been having, it's just kind of whenever we can get all the actors together and get the sets that we need and get the the crew that we need together and everything like that. And then it's all the money's coming from our studio we run studios, and then our director Aeneas is like self-funding it also. So it's kind of an interesting process where when we can we're just kind of having to shoot whenever we can, like getting just kind of whatever opportunities we can do. And in a way, it's almost kind of like shooting a documentary where it's just kind of like, I need to, once we're on set or once we're in a space, I need to make sure we get not only like we make sure we get where everything the scene needs to work, but also like we might not come back to this location. So what are all the things I need to get for like this space, or like just like things I might not need, but like, stuff like shooting differently than how we would approach a normal narrative project where we have like, I guess, a normal amount of pre-production time, and we can go in with a lot more of like a plan. So that's been kind of fun. And also, I mean, I feel like also with Fausto, like I came from doing a lot of weddings in my past, and even just coming from doing that, I feel like helps with the whole like doc style of shooting, where it's just kind of like what's the space that I'm in right now? What's the best light I can use in this space? I might not have enough time to shape it or to do a whole lot with it. So how can I, place the people in this space to, optimize? You just kind of like that, where it kind of forces you to have to think about things like that, where like solving problems. So then when I'm on a set where we have more options, it's almost like I'm in like a candy store, where it's like, oh, what are all these different things now? Like, or like all these opportunity where, it's just kind of like, as opposed to, I feel like, like if I were to have come from doing that and then go onto the dock without having any of that experience, it would seem a lot harder to kind of go like right off the bat. But I feel like that's a style that I'm a lot more comfortable with now.
Yeah, now that you've had to be pushed into it. Yeah.
That's so interesting you mentioned that, by the way, just because, going from weddings and learning how to just like shoot doc style and then going to more like official film sets, it's like it's very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a long time, especially for me. Sorry to jump onto you here, but it just took a while for me to like understand like what I had to work with. And I was like, oh, yeah, I just don't have the sun to work with. I can actually use like other lights. This is
good. And it's like so much to me. It's like almost more. It's crazy where it's like like you're so used to just kind of working with what exists, where it's like now when you're on like a set with like money and tools, you're like, God, you're like, oh my God, like, I can create, like the sun is here now, and stuff. So it's just, I mean, it's even within like narrative cinematography, I feel like there's so many different like ways to work, where it's like, because there are people who are a lot more like, even if you're doing like an outdoor, like a more naturalistic scene, they will bring out like a ton of lights, and they will like, like do really heavy like camera work, or like behind the scenes stuff, and like for a scene that wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to tell just looking at it, like, oh, that looks just really natural, and then there's other people who like, I mean, so there's just different approaches and different styles to it, and I don't think there's like a right way or a wrong way or something, but it's just kind of like what fits that project that we're working on right now,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us like a challenge that you've had to like overcome with Goodbye Kaido?
Ooh.
Well, I remember you telling me about the hospital scene, and I'm hoping you could like share this with everyone else.
Okay.
I just love it, but I also want to hear other stuff too.
So speaking of the, like, I mean, just there's been a whole lot of different like little challenges that like, you don't really think about having to do when you start a project like that. I feel like this has been a big like learning experience for me too, where it's like even like the project itself, like when we started shooting it, like what we had in mind for where it would go is completely different from like where it is now. Like just like the way that like once we started seeing the actors kind of work together and kind of like the way the story was going, and it's like, oh, that doesn't work. We'll do this, and just that kind of freedom for that. And so we had, just like a lot of figuring out of just kind of like stuff that we had to kind of do. So one of the things that Aeneas really wanted was a scene at the end of the movie where our main character visits another character in the hospital, and we really, really wanted to make a good looking hospital set, and we were planning on like having to build that and everything. And then unfortunately, Aeneas's grandfather had a medical issue that required him to be in the hospital, so he had a room, and he was there for about a month and a half or something like that. And so midway through his stay, he started feeling a lot better, and he was only there to mainly just to kind of be under watch. Then he would get physical therapy sessions every like 2 or 3 hours or so for like 15 minutes. So me and Aeneas went to visit his grandpa with one of the actors, and then like spent time with him. And then as soon as he went out for the physical therapy session, because it's exactly 15 minutes, we like brought the actor in. We're like, okay, we're gonna just shoot the scene. Like got everything that I brought like one light, and we're like, okay, like we had like exactly the shots that we wanted. Got out, and then like and then in time for the thing to, and we were like, we did it. And I mean, it's I don't know if I would recommend doing that, especially now.
That's perfect guerrilla filmmaking.
But like
guerrilla filmmaking, like
it's one of those things where it's like that was the. We're not going to get it to look. We're not going to get a hospital set to look that good. So like a lot of the movie has been like either finding ways to shoot in spaces less like that, more like Aeneas goes into places, and he has a really interesting way of just kind of like getting people on board with his ideas, which I think is really cool. So we've been able to get a lot of good like local spots to just let us shoot in them. Without like I went to film school, and so when you're in film school, they always teach you like, oh, you need to get permits, and you need to talk to everything needs to get like signed. You need to have everything. And I think that is important too. For a certain type of film, but especially on this level where it's just like where it's almost like a passion project and stuff like that, where a lot of local places and a lot of like even like local people are just so willing. Like that's something I've learned too. They're just so open to like being willing to just let us shoot in their spots, like so many businesses are just like, like come in. And like, there was a place that we were like, hey, can we shoot in your bathroom? Cause you have interesting lighting in your bathroom. And they were like, oh yeah, do you want me to kick some people out? Like we can clear it out for you guys. And we're like, now? Like you guys are open. And they're like, yeah, we can kick people out. And we're like, okay. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's been an interesting kind of, it's like ups and downs where it's like, things you don't think are going to be issues become issues, but then things that people are also a lot more like willing and a lot more like helpful when you approach them the right way, and when you I feel like when you have like when you're passionate about what you're doing and you can show that. I feel like that's something Aeneas is good at, where he could really convey that like this is his movie that he wants to do, and it gets people like pumped to do it.
Shout out to Aeneas.
It seems like a lot of just like even more so because already on a regular film set you have to rely on everybody, and I imagine when it's like guerrilla filmmaking you have to make sure like the director knows and the producer knows how to get people out of a rough spot if you encounter one, and you need to know how to talk to people. You need to have actors that are ready to go like this and not taking forever to or get something.
And it's also just like it's not taking like stupid risks. I feel like too, like you hear we're trying to do things also, like as safely as possible. Like it's we're trying to give the illusion of like this is like if the movie is an action movie, it's kind of like it takes place throughout like a rave. So we want it to feel very kind of like high energy and very action packed, but it's we're doing it in a very we took a lot of we have a chase scene through downtown that we shot that's supposed to open the movie, and we drove out there, like Aeneas drove out there like 3 or 4 times a week for like a couple weeks just to like look at like spots, and he would like take notes down in his phone, and then I went with him like 2 nights in a row to just look at what kind of lighting is in those spots that we would go for, and then we went back again to with the actors to be like, if we have you like jump from here to here, can you actually do that? And then we got like a safety pad, like a mat and stuff, and then on the day that we were shooting, Aeneas hired his friend who's a security guard to just kind of follow us along, like just in case anything happened. So I mean, it's kind of like like working within like being ready to go and being like on your feet, but also not being dumb about it, like taking the precautions and like do, because these things don't cost money, you know, to like plan and to like to go and to just, you know, like all of these things that like when you watch a movie, I feel like, you know, like if you see a really nice shot, like that shot that you see is really nice, unless it has a lot of like visual effects in it, probably didn't cost a lot of money to make, you know. It just took, or you, if you want to recreate something similar to that, it's just what's the framing, what's the placement of the act, you know, like it's just that type of, it takes a little bit of time to like get to that point, I feel like.
So it shows that you do have, you know, a lot of experience having to work with all these moving parts and all these people. But that brings us into our next question for you. How long have you been interested in bugs? And I heard a hermit crab is part of your family now. How's that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I've been interested. I feel like Fausto was saying, where it's like I feel it definitely is important to have something that's not like, you have to be able to do things that aren't like, so like just work, you know, like something you have fun doing, you know. So for me, it's always been, I've always really liked nature, and I've always really liked insects. So especially during quarantine, like in this time when you really shouldn't be interacting with too many people, I've been kind of like building a small jungle in my bedroom. So and then doing little videos with that. I bought like a little microscope in January, and then so I've just been doing little videos with the microbes and stuff like that. And then I ordered I got a hermit crab from the store on a whim because I went to buy food for my snails. I have snails, and then I was reading online that you need more than one hermit crab because they like friends. So then I ordered 4 more hermit crabs in the mail, and so I got mailed 4 crabs like 2 days ago. I just got a box. I opened it up, and there's just so I have
they have names.
A little crab. Yep.
That's great.
What's their names?
There's Apple because he eats apples. Honey because it eats honey. Pearl because its shell kind of looks like a pearl, and then the last one's name is Mole because I haven't seen it. As soon as I put it in, it just buried itself, and I haven't seen it since. It might be dead. It could be dead. I don't know.
It could be dead. I don't know. Yeah.
They said they like to sleep,
Noah.
so I'm like, he's asleep. Yeah,
Definitely
I'm telling myself that. Mm-hmm. He's Schrodinger's crab. Until I see him for real, he's alive. You know.
All right. So now, moving on to cinematography. Do you guys prefer the title of cinematographer or director of photography? And do you think there's a difference?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe to a certain extent. I don't know. I've struggled with it just because I think cinematographer just sounds better and looks better. Director of photography is a mouthful.
That's what. Yeah, I usually use cinematographer just because it's easier to. It's one word.
Yeah.
Less typey for my fingers.
Yeah. I've definitely struggled with the term cinematography versus videographer.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a hard one because it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm a videographer because I shoot this stuff. And then once you start like learning how to shape light, then I'm like, well, I guess I'm a cinematographer. And then it's like, oh, my composition's getting way better. I guess I can evolve to a cinematographer. It's like, when do I get to call my a cinematographer?
I feel like because I feel like, I mean, I don't know if you, I do most of my, in terms of just like gig work, like freelance, stuff like that. And then, what were we just talking?
Do you call yourself a cinematographer when you do gig work?
Oh yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So the name, when you're like apply, when you're like doing work and stuff, I feel like that's when it kind of, especially like the videographer and like cinematographer thing. I feel like there's people like when you put like videographer on your thing, that like certain, like, I feel like I get to charge more when I say cinematographer. But also,
Like,
I feel like
oh,
I get less responses when I put cinematographer on because I feel like people don't know as much about like what is
maybe
that, you know?
they're like, oh, this pretentious guy thinks he's a cinematographer.
Or like I don't just need cinematography; I need the whole package kind of
Yeah, I
thing.
need
You know, like
everything. Yeah,
so usually like if I'm trying to apply for like a wedding gig or something, I'll put like videographer because it's like
it's a little
I'll
bit
make
easier
a
to
video
understand.
for you.
Like layman's terms, you know what I mean? People just understand.
Mhm.
Oh, it's video. He's a video guy. Cinematographer.
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
I'm not trying to make a movie. I'm trying to."
Or then
film
like
film."
usually is that if I get hired on like a thing for cinematographer, then they'll always be like, oh, like do you know someone who can do sound? Can you do sound? Or like
Yeah.
do you also can you edit? Do you know how to edit also? Or like
Yeah.
like if you just say videographer, then it's like okay, that's all in
Like
that.
all
Like
inclusive.
yeah, like they know,
Yeah.
you know.
So that's how I feel about that.
But
So,
like I don't know.
speaking of titles and roles and everything,
Mhm.
so there's a lot of people here that might either be interested in cinematography or they're directors. So, as people who lean more towards director of photography or cinematographers, what are things directors can do to make your life easier, would you say?
I think that's a question for you right now, Noah.
I don't know. I think that's like it's an interesting question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the main thing I look for in a director, I guess, when I'm choosing a new project or taking on something is like, is this person passionate about this thing? Like, is this something that the person legitimately cares about? Like, is this a story that they want to tell? Or is this just something that they're just doing because it's like, oh, I got a little bit of money to make this, or like someone asked me to do this, like, you know, kind of like, is this something that someone cares about? And then if they care about it, like, do they have a vision for it? You know, like,
That's the most important thing. I think is vision.
yeah,
If they
because I feel
can
like
articulate and communicate that vision, you know, then it's our job to try to like make it look good, right?
yeah, because it's like or do we have somebody who will take this all the way to the end? Because it's like I know I'm going to do that. You know, like I know if I'm going to take on a project, I don't want to take on a project that's not going to, you know, like this is going to be a project that we're going to do and it's going to get done. And I want to make sure that that's going to be somebody that, you know, is like that. And then also is someone who is open to collaboration, not just with like me even, but like just like on set, like if I'm going to have to be working with you for an extended period of time, like, are you a collaborative person, you know, like you.
I think it's the most helpful thing in my opinion for a director is literally to just I personally think it's really helpful when a director just understands what goes into everything. It's really helpful when a director understands when things are difficult or when things are, you know, can't be done exactly the way that they expect, right? I think it's helpful to be able to communicate, you know, those feelings to each other and understand that, like, you know, what is in the realm of possibility and what's not.
Yeah, I feel like it all comes down to like communication and like can you two work together, and can you guys like, can the two of your brains come together to make one cohesive vision, you know? And it's like,
I mean, I think Game vs. Taylor is actually a great example of this, because the way that it started was I went in with like kind of a plan, and then we showed up for previs. We wrote down some ideas, and it was George, and I was kind of the DP at first. But then as things started going along, I ended up becoming the cam op and director, and then George pretty much took over as DP. And it was just kind of like this funny like shift of like, it's very unconventional. Like that's not how film is supposed to work. Director's not supposed to be using the camera, but but I was just like, I know what I want, I know what vision I have, and then let me just let George for this moment just kind of take over, you know, looks, right? So and then so it's very, I think it's just, if you work together really well with the director, then these roles kind of bleed into each other a little bit. But yeah, I just think you just got to have a good rapport with the director. That's all.
I feel like that's the main thing. No. Yeah.
Go ahead, Noah.
No, I was agreeing with Fausto. Yeah, it's just the main thing is like, don't be a dick, you know?
Yeah.
Like
that's huge. Yeah.
If you want to make a movie with other people, be able to work with other people. That's the only thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
That's really hard. That's actually really hard for a lot of people.
Yeah. Or I mean, the other thing too is that's the thing. If you're having difficulties with it, be able to communicate that, because it's like I don't know everything, but like you tell me that,
I
like
think
tell
it's
me if you're
also
having a hard time or you're having
I
like
think
you
it's
don't
good to be
understand what's
honest with
going
each
on.
other. Honestly,
Yeah. Like
if you're
that's
like,
the thing. If you're on the same page, I feel like I don't want to be in like a situation where like a director thinks that they're like better than you or something, like whether it's like they're better than the crew, or they're like
collaborative
I want
effort.
it's kind of something like, what do you think? Or it's one of those things where it's like if you're a director and you're hiring a DP or you're hiring like a production designer, it's like you're saying that I want that person to fill this job, or like I can't do this well. I need someone to do this.
It's kind of like hiring a tattoo artist, right? Like you're going to this tattoo artist because you trust and you like their work. Right?
Yeah, if not, just tattoo yourself. If you're not gonna, if you're just gonna micromanage,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
or
let them do their thing, and and if you don't agree with it, then communicate. But yeah, then it's just definitely like you're hiring that person for a reason. So let them work.
I think it's one of those things where it's like that saying, where like 80% of good directing is good casting, and I think that's like true for not even like just that, where it's like like if you're putting together your crew, like like if I'm hiring a gaffer, like I want to hire someone who I think is a better gaffer than I am,
Well, and that's so funny you mentioned that too, because you definitely got to hire, like, work with people who are way better than you. Your projects will be so much better when you admit that you don't know everything, and that other people can probably do it 100 times better than you. So yeah, work with other and learn. You know what I mean? Pick their brains.
Like watch what people do when you're like. That's when I was like, I feel that was one of the things that helped get me into film, was when I was like younger. I used to love watching the like behind the scenes stuff, or like the like how they make, I used to love monster movies, so I used to love watching like how they would make like the puppets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it's just fun.
Are you gonna do a monster movie with your bugs?
Oh man.
with your snails? That'd be great.
Right.
I have 20 feet of green screen on my wall. I'm just
my god.
Just building a city right now,
Yeah. I'll give you all my egg cartons.
Yeah.
And then the milk cartons.
Just gonna take it out. Build a diorama and then take it out to the desert, and we can burn it.
All right. So we know there's some filmmakers. Sorry to cut the fun chat. But last serious question. Okay, we know there's some filmmakers who like to direct and shoot their own films, such as Alfonso Cuarón with Roma, Reed Morano, Rachel Morrison. Would this be something you would want to do one day, or have you done it?
For me, it's pretty much YouTube is that, right? It's literally me doing everything and relying on myself. And in fact, it's actually made it very hard for me to even break into film, because I have to let go and let everyone else touch everything. And that was really hard for me, because I've spent so long only relying on myself. Like to this point, actually to this day, I'm looking for an editor for my YouTube videos, and I'm just like, this is so hard, because I don't trust anybody else to touch anything that I'm doing. And it's definitely, so I feel like I'm already kind of there. I feel like I've already been doing that, directing, editing, and directing and performing my own things and all that, shooting it. So yeah, it's kind of something I've been doing for a while. On a grander scale one day, yes. Yeah, that'll probably happen.
Noah?
You should do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that like I've done. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things too, where it's, especially in the modern age of like filmmakers, I feel like every young filmmaker has had to be like their own everything at one point in time or another. I don't know if it's something that it's something, it's kind of like what Fausto said, where it's like finding people that you trust and to do these things. And then I guess it would just depend on like the story, I guess. If there was a story that I really, really wanted to tell, and I just had like a very specific vision for it and I knew how to accomplish it, maybe. But I mean, usually I tend not to direct I mean, just because I understand that that's not my like strong suit necessarily, or unless it's a very specific like type of story or something. Like it's just not something that I'm particularly like interested in. And that was another thing too. Like going to film school helped me because I feel like when you kind of just your idea of what a director is in your head, you just kind of picture like, oh, he's the person in charge of making the movie. So that's what like everyone's like, I want to be a director. But like really your director's job is to work with the actors and to like get performances out of like, I mean, that's their job, and it's like, so you really need to understand actors and you really need to understand like talking to people and getting like those things out of them. And it's like, for me, the thing that I really was interested in film with was like, the look of everything and like the cinematography and stuff. So I guess if I ever were to like direct something, it would probably be more something along the lines of like that more experimental or something like maybe a little more like David Lynchy or just where it's less like narrative driven and more just kind of like visual or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, guys. It is now 7:46. Where did the time go? It is time to open up the questions to the audience.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So thank you guys for answering our questions. And anybody watching, you can send your questions on the chat now if you haven't already. If you're on AirMeet, and if you would like to speak to Fausto and Noah directly, you can press on the raise hand button now.
Oh, raising it. That's such a neat
Please,
feature.
someone raise the hand. Oh my god! Finally.
Someone raise their hand.
Someone raise their hand. Let's see. Here we go.
Who's this?
Sorry. You guys can hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you. We can't see you.
Okay.
You're on the air.
Hi guys. So
Hi.
this is my question. I sometimes struggle with this myself, but I want to know how you guys feel about it. Do you feel like marketing yourself as the everyman? Sorry, let me say it again. Do you feel like marketing yourself as the everyman sometimes plays against you, or do you feel like it helps you out? Because sometimes it's like if you tell people, "Hey, I'm an editor, cinematographer, director, and all this," like, do you think people like that? I guess I don't know. Does that help you?
I think. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Me? I think back in the day, I think you had to like specialize. I think it was like they need an editor, they need a cinematographer, they need a director, and that's all you did. And actually, you kind of still see that a little bit in Hollywood today, like with guilds and stuff, right? Like people do their jobs, and that's it, right? But I think as we move along to the new media that we all are experiencing today, I think now it's more desirable to kind of know a little bit of everything. And then I don't think, and like, because back in the day I used to be really bothered by that, like no one really knew what I did. So yeah, so I don't think there's anything wrong with it these days. I think you kind of I think if you tell people that you do everything, though, they also expect the world. They expect the whole entire moon, and it's just like you can't obviously give them that without more hands. So maybe temper those talents a little bit, depending on the project. Don't let people know that you can do everything if you're only hired to do one thing, right? Or else they're gonna make you do it.
Yeah. It's like when someone asks me to do the dishes, I just do it really, really bad, so they never ask me to do it again. It's just like, okay, cool, Noah doesn't do the dishes. That's good.
Yeah.
No, but
that's perfect.
I was gonna say though, but like kind of going off of what you said, like I like right now during the pandemic, like I have friends that are actors, and they've been doing like they've been having to do their own self tapes like with their phone and like setting up lighting, and I just helped my roommate is an actress, and she was doing a little scene thing for a production studio, and it was like basically she had to set up like all of the production design on her end, because it's all the direction is just remote, and like and she had to film it like on her own phone, or like it's like a FaceTime kind of movie, but it's like like you have to kind of know how to like work with technology and how to like set up your own lighting and set up, like especially like now, like she's an actress, but like she knew how to do all of that so she could get that job,
It's so funny you mention that too, because I recently did a job for EA where it's for Madden, it's a football game or whatever, where they usually have a big tournament. Because of COVID they couldn't do it, so I had to light like 36 different scenes, all from their own homes, and I had to guide them through how to set up the lights, how to set up their camera, and it was a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
We got it to work. It happened, but man, it's wild to watch people who have never touched cameras or lights try to set it up. It's
that was on that Zoom call. There was another actor on there who they were telling like I guess they mailed him a Zoom audio recorder.
Yeah.
And they were like trying to get him like through all the settings and everything, but like remotely. Yeah. And it's like that's crazy, but it's like like if you knew that stuff, like that would be like now like in this market, like that's like,
you could be your own production.
That's a good thing. Like you could be like if you're an actor who can also do all these things, that's all. Now these are all pluses, you know.
It's a huge boon. I mean, especially if you're like if you're a shoutcaster, for instance, for these games, like in my world. Right, if you know how to set up your own lighting and make yourself look good, and then you know how to set up your own audio, make yourself sound good, like you're gonna like the tech guys are gonna love you. Like it's just like you're the best.
All right. Well, thank you, George, for your question.
Yeah, thanks, George.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting this. I was like, oh, my voice. Don't act dumb. Don't be dumb. And I was dumb.
No, you're good. Thank you so much for asking. We appreciate it.
That was wonderful.
Okay, cool. Our next question is from Rose, actor and producer, and it says, "There's one for each of you." So the first one she sent, Fausto, what was your process like updating your gear as your work became more and more popular?
Oh, that's a really interesting one. So number one, I believe audio is most important, especially if you're doing YouTube stuff. Like, you know, people will watch bad video, but they will not stand for bad audio, right? For me, it was all about, it was basically just audio. Then I got an extra camera, and I moved my old camera to now my webcam. I have a mirrorless camera as my webcam, and then lighting. So, but I would probably argue it goes audio, lighting, and then camera is last. So that's how I would say you should figure out your setup, and that was it. And honestly, if I'm being really honest, none of it matters. You don't need any of this crap to do YouTube or Twitch or whatever. There's plenty of people out there who just have a green screen and they just like kind of light themselves correctly, and then they go. And it's all about you, the personality, the content you're putting out. Don't care about all these bells and whistles. It comes later. Trust me. So don't feel like you can't start until you have this stuff. Just go do it, make it. Yeah.
Unless you're like a weirdo like us, you don't care about when you watch a movie. You don't care about like what it took, like what they shot it on or anything. You know, it's just, was this a successful thing? You know.
Yeah, and that's
did I like it?
Yeah, that's really hard to get past as well, to be honest. But yeah. Noah, your turn.
Okay. All right, Noah, your question. Rose says, Noah, you're so cheerful. Is there anything on set that ever bums you out? How do you...
Thank you, Rose. That's great.
Yeah, there's things that bum me out, you know, but like, I guess in terms of how do I recover, I feel like I mean, especially when I first started like doing film, you have, and especially right out of film school, you have like these, like, you're kind of taught to have like these very like things need to be an exact way. Like I need to approach a scene like this, and I need to do it this way. Like this is the right way to do things. And I feel like the more I've done things, the more I kind of realize like, oh, there's not like a right way to do. I mean, there's wrong ways to do things for sure. But, you know, in terms of like right ways, like as long as everyone is comfortable and everyone is, you know, we're all doing it the right way. Like that's the main thing, you know? And I feel like, so like for me, the best way to like not get bummed out on set is just make sure that all the people that you're working with are people that like are with you in that like process, you know, who are like, you're just willing to like, you know, or who understand that like, yeah, like things change and you can't be tied down to anything. And I feel like that's my, like, in terms of my process to like cinematography or like just like, when I'm working and stuff, like that's how I kind of get through a lot of the days where it's just kind of like, I have my, you know, you have your plan for like the shots and you have your plan for like what you want everything to be. But then also it's just like, what's the goal? Like, what's the point of this scene? Like if I needed to, like if something happened where we had like an hour left and we needed to do this all in like 2 shots, what would be the 2 shots that we needed for this scene, you know, to work? And it's like yeah, and then it's just kind of like what. So if things happen or if things like mess up or we don't have the right, like we don't have the time for a setup or we don't have the time for something else, it's just like, okay, that's not a problem. We thought about this, or or we know what the point of the scene is, so we can just pivot that. Like, oh, we don't like. The main thing is we deliver this information to the audience. So if it doesn't work in the plan that we had this way, there's so many other ways you could do. Like that's the fun thing about film, where it's like there's no one answer to anything. It's just kind of like, how do you figure that out? And it's like, I don't know. I always look for people who are like willing to or like excited to figure it out. Like
yeah, having a good crew is definitely half the battle.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know. There's been so many days where it's like especially a Goodbye Kaito, where it's like, yeah, like if we stopped at the point where like, oh, like this, it just didn't look like this, like on a normal project we would have stopped a long time ago, where it's like, oh, that this, like, oh, we didn't get this location, or oh, like something didn't have, like we don't have it for as long as we thought we did, but it's like we knew what we wanted to get out of that thing, and it's like, okay, right. So we can, yeah, and it's also understanding that it's like we're not like, at the end of the day, we're not putting out fires, or we're not like essential workers or anything. We're making a movie, so it's like, don't let yourself get so, yeah, I mean, it's why are you, don't get so worked up on over things too, it's just kind of like I don't know, yeah, like I think about it in the way that's like I'm doing the thing that I've always wanted to do, and it's like, I mean, it's
good, man. You made it.
Yeah, it's like
that's seriously, yeah. You gotta just love what you do.
Yeah, I don't know, because especially now, there's like money is so like uncertain, and like just the way the world is, everything, and it's like you can't rely on all these other things to be happy. I don't know. I mean, that's just me, I feel like. And that's hard that's easy to say, but it's much harder to do, but it's,
We have a question from Tyler on YouTube.
Yes, we have one. Our last question. So speaking of getting through the days and putting out fires, Tyler is asking, what has been the most challenging thing you've had to learn about filmmaking?
For me, it's literally been, like you said, there's the wrong ways to do things, and there's not a right way, but I have spent a long time trying to learn what the right way is. Because I didn't go to film school. So I have no basis for all the proper way of doing things. So I definitely had to learn all of that. Like, even to the point of like, I knew what kind of lighting I wanted, but I didn't even know the type of equipment that I could use, right? It's like, okay, I know what this is going to look like. I've done it before, but I don't know what that piece of equipment is. I don't know what all this film set lingo is. So for filmmaking, for me, it's been literally being on enough sets to the point where I'm now confident that I can communicate with others properly. And I'm pretty sure all those terms are just made up, like just to like like they're just like made up so like people just can't come on set and do whatever they want. Like, oh, you don't know what this is? You know what that is? And it's like a C-47. It's like, what? Just call it a freaking Trojan. Like,
so many things are like, so many film. I feel like a lot of like that.
Stupid. I always felt like so like imposter syndrome. Like, I'm just like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. Like,
it feels very like gatekeepy in that community.
Yeah. So that was the hardest part from filmmaking for me, was just actually being able to remind myself, like, no, like, you have made things and they are looking good. You just have to learn the lingo and the terminology and the right way of doing certain things, so you don't look dumb later. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's been a process for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's also like, it's just being able to kind of like, for me, I feel like it's interesting because like I almost thought, not the opposite, but like in terms of approach, where it's like I went to film school, and for me it's almost been like forcing myself to kind of unlearn a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like film school is very rigid, where it's very like one way, and I feel like part of like the thing that I've gotten the most out of like the last few years has just been like realizing that, yeah, like you can just there's so many other ways to do things, where there's like yeah, and it's just like figuring it out. Like, that's the fun part for me.
That being said, though, I do recommend film school. if you are like on the verge. I think that film school will introduce you to tons of people, and the whole point of school is to kind of like connect you with other people who care about the same stuff you do. Whereas I grew up with no one cared about what I was doing. Everyone thought I was a weirdo for sitting in my room, learning these programs. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend film school. And if you can afford it and if you're in the right spot in your life, then I think you should go for it.
See, I would counter that with possibly, I don't know. I think that, like, I completely agree with the statement about like getting like a community and stuff together and getting people, like that's important. I feel like things like this or like eccentric artists and stuff like that are I feel like that's going to be the future. Like that's going to be like the thing that we should be, like just more community based, like just places like this where like if you're interested in film, this is the place you can go to meet people and also be interested in film together. And it's like I don't need to pay tens of thousands of dollars to be in debt.
Exactly. And I think it's like, I guess what it comes down to is don't go to film school. Talk to everybody and get your name out there and tell them what you can do and be confident. And you don't need film school then. You don't have to pay for confidence. You can just get confidence and then make friends that way. So
if your goal is to make movies, you don't need to go to film school to make movies. Just start making movies.
Just start. Yeah, just start.
Wonderful advice. So last question.
This is our most serious question, okay?
Most serious? Oh, okay.
I need you guys to really focus.
Okay.
All right. Shrek 1 or Shrek 2?
Oh, wow. I'm going to start with Shrek 1, like, personally.
Okay.
I mean, that was the introduction. You know what I mean?
Like, I'm going to be a contrarian. I'm going to say Shrek 2. Shrek 2 improved on everything in Shrek 1.
You just like the hallelujah scene.
That's in Shrek 1. That's not in Shrek 2. Shrek 2. Shrek 2 has the fairy godmother. See, that's already an improvement. Yeah, that's
the dragon. Yeah.
The second one had the cops segment where they get like arrested, and that's, I feel like, especially now, that's valid social commentary.
Yeah.
Shrek 2 was ahead of the curve, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So Shrek 2 is the future. I see.
For sure.
Better out than in. I always say that all the time. That's where that line came from. I specifically sometimes I just try to fart just so I can say that line.
I just say donkey very loud.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what they did?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Fausto and Noah, for joining us, and thank you for everyone for watching our Q&A. Please make sure to check them out on our website, eccentricartist.space, so you can check out their websites, their links to everything, and of course, go follow them on social media. And oh, what's this?
Whoa!
What is going on?
Don't look at it.
Oh my gosh!
Don't look at it. Hang on.
Right.
Hang on. This is fine. No, this is bad.
Ooh, we're looking behind the curtains.
Don't look at it. I get very angry. Don't do that.
Oh my god.
All right, cool. Thank you for that. And also, before we go, because it is now 8:03, and we've all just talked each other's ears off at this point, but thank you, everybody, for joining us. Quick shout out to our featured artist, Caitlin Young, because unfortunately she wasn't available to make one of these sessions, but we highly encourage you to keep up with her. Fall just started, and if you want to see some spooky looks, she's already stocking up for her Halloween makeup series this October. And you can, what was that? And you can find more info on everyone here we featured and Caitlin on our website under Featured Artists. And if you missed the beginning of this live stream, this video will be available on playback on YouTube. Before we go, we'd like to mention that the Eccentric Artist Film Club has a discussion on the film I'm No Longer Here this Saturday, September 26th at 6:30 p.m. And also the monthly film challenge is due this Sunday on September 27th by 8 p.m. The screening for the film challenge will be on YouTube Live on October 4th at 6 p.m. All right, guys. Any last things you want to say before we head out now?
No, just keep creating. Keep creating. Don't stop.
Yeah,
Don't stop. You could be the next viral video.
Yeah, become a meme. That's the ending.
That's
yeah.
All right, become a meme.
Yeah.
Become a meme.
All right, that's all we got for tonight, guys. See you at our next collective event. Thank you,
Bye, guys.
everybody.
Thank you guys.
Bye.